everyone, and welcome back to the Pre-Game Network podcast, episode 68, the only gaming news show slash podcast on the internet that is not afraid to ruffle some feathers and offend some people with our amazing, totally not biased, and completely objective hot takes every time. So, welcome back. This week, I am joined again by my bestest pal, Anthony. I am Dan, and we are going to talk about more gaming shit from the last time we did, which was last week.
Yes.
All right, well, as per usual, we'll go over what we've been playing this week, and then we will transition into the news proper. So I think I'm going to go first, just because it's a very, very short list this time. Finals, Battlefield, Darktide. That's it. That's all I've been playing this week. That's it. Yeah, I've been meaning to jump back into Killing Floor 3 because they pushed out a couple of back-end maintenance hot fixes. No content or anything, but like they are kind of in fix it in post stage. They're in the fix it in post phase of its life cycle right now. Okay. I am of the belief that this game isn't going to be where it should be for like at least 6 months. It's going to be one of those. And the Darktide was the same way. It really took until the Unlocked and Loaded update, which came out like a year and a half or maybe 2 years after the game launched, that the game was really in a quote unquote finished state, where it's really how it should have launched, but it took them as much time as it did for them to get to that point. I think that Killing Floor 3 is going to suffer from the same fate.
Long-term fixer.
I read through all the balance patches or the maintenance patches and the back end stuff, and I mean it really all comes down to like making the game functional in the way that it should have been when it was shipped, and that's just kind of like an allegory for the state of the industry right now anyway, I feel like. So it's kind of shitty, but I mean I still think the game has a lot of potential. It's still fun at a base level, but it's just missing a lot of content, and they definitely need to nip that in the bud sooner rather than later. But that was my little Killing Floor rant. Battlefield has been the cracks are starting to show a little bit more for me, and we'll talk about that in a second after you get to what you've been playing.
I'll go over what
but Darktide, since we roped Harrison into playing finally, I jumped back in like full force again. I started to play like the higher end difficulties to the point where, do you remember the Auric missions that I was telling you about last week?
Yes.
Yeah, so I started playing on that difficulty finally with randoms, and it's kind of hit or miss, but it's one of those situations where like you progress into the upper echelon of the difficulties in that game, and all the people that are hanging out at that difficulty are as good or better than me at a baseline. So the experience isn't that of like, if I dropped it down a couple notches where like people would be going down and the whole run would be scuffed because someone made one mistake. Like everyone that plays at the Auric difficulty knows what they're doing. They have very coherent and tight builds, and they're really good at the game. So it's like breaking through the glass ceiling almost. So I've been doing a lot of that lately, and it's been a lot of fun because I've been experimenting with different build options for my different classes, and this is the type of like Darktide is the type of game where I play it just because it's fun to play, and I can earn some cosmetic stuff along the way, which is exactly what I want, but I play Darktide just because it's a ton of fun. So that is what I've been playing this week. I think I played a little bit more Cyberpunk, but it's mostly been Darktide, Battlefield, and the finals. So yeah, that's what I've been playing.
All right. Well, as for me, I mean, it's to be honest, it was kind of a crappy week for me, just in general. So I kept my no, don't worry about it. It's all good. It was the kind of week that made me want to throw bricks at people different than me. And so I took it at a different pace, and I just kind of I went back. I played some more gacha games that I've been neglecting just to get some of the events out of the way. Right up to the point we were recording this, I was rushing through the Genshin Impact summer event, which I hadn't completed yet. It ends in like 2 hours. I might have time to finish it after this recording. Who the hell knows? And I don't have much to add on that. It's you know, it's a nice little story. It's still got the good music. You know, the gameplay is a little lax just because I think they think your average gacha player is retarded, and based on, you know, the people I know that like to play these games, they've said as much. So just is what it is. Some of it's lacking difficulty wise, but it's still fun, still cozy. I also went back and I tried that one horse racing game again, just because I never really gave it a fair shake. The Uma Musume, yeah, the Uma Musume game. It's like the, I mentioned it offhand once, where it's like it's literally
when you and Harrison were talking about like the Dave & Buster's game.
Yes, that's pretty much it. Like I described it to you offhand once because like I was kind of rushing through my gacha games, but it's basically, the idea is it's based off of this series where it's literally horse racing, but all the horses are cute anime girls. That's the pull of it. And it has like this whole anime that I still haven't watched yet, and all of the horses, the names are based off of real life race horses, and it's been blowing up since it released, to the point where it's like you have people that definitely just skip through all of the content, but like the rush of gambling and racing these horses, right? But I digress. My whole point is I finally sat down and I actually went through some of the career, so now I actually understand how the game fucking plays. And you know, it's definitely got its niche, you know, and you know, you mentioned it, and I mentioned it to Harrison. It fills me with an odd nostalgia for those times in like a Dave & Buster's where like they had the game Sega Racing Derby, where it's literally just virtual horse racing. I kind of wish, given the fact that it's a gacha game and you collect all these different characters, you can kind of almost set up casual, like just race these horses and just see what happens. I feel like that would be like just some side fun, but it is what it is. I don't know how much more I'm going to play it. We'll see what happens, but you know, I understand it now. Last time I didn't know what the fuck was going on with it. It seemed a little bit too much for me, as far as just something you can't rush through, but it's whatever. So that's outside of those two things, and you know, you mentioned the finals. I'm obviously playing with you. Battlefield, we're gonna get to in a little bit. Fighting games with Harrison, all that. There is one other game I tried. Okay. The game I heard about for a long time, and I always looked at it, and I just said, this definitely isn't the kind of game as it's being advertised. It's a game called Gone Home. I'm sure you've heard of it at least once.
Yes, I have heard of it.
Yes. So back in the day, it was kind of like at the advent, I would say, of the like kind of like walking simish, like psychological horror. I guess when that became like a thing, when it was popping off, right? That's not what this game is. I went in completely blind. I had no idea what to expect. Back in the day, people kind of like lumped it in with those horror games at the time, when that's really not the case. All I remembered about the game was that it was an industry hit, like the kind of shit people talk about blows up briefly, kind of like a Braid, right? Where people talk about it as like, oh, it's all so nice and artsy. It is literally just walk around a house, examine mementos, and learn about the story of a girl who I guess was a lesbian in high school, and you learn about her love life. And I'm just like, how many people were recommended this game like it was a horror
based off
game?
Of that alone?
Yeah. And just like in general, I'm just like, I mean, I can't say I was slighted because I wasn't stupid enough to think that it was a horror game, but that's like the only thing I heard about. It's like, oh, you wander a creepy house. I mean, for what it's worth, wandering around the house is cool. There's not enough games that let you, like, you know, there's got to be more content, but there's not enough games out there that let you like examine and explore like abandoned houses and mansions and shit like that. I kind of wish there was a horror game more in line like that. You know, I guess the closest is like Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 7. Maybe there's a few other out there I haven't played, but you know, I don't know why I chose it. It's just on a whim. I went to play this, and it was just an obnoxious nothing of a game. That's really it.
Yeah. Okay.
I have nothing to say about it. Like, I don't want to be overly negative and just shit on it constantly, but it was it's a game that has a lot of unwarranted reputation around it, I guess. You know, I think the guys that did some of the BioShock 2 DLC did this game, and I think that was like it's like, oh, they cut their teeth on BioShock. You gotta buy this game. So whatever. I didn't pay for it, so I don't give a shit. So, but yeah, that's what I've been playing. So if you wanna talk about some Battlefield now.
Yeah, we might as well get that out of the way. I mean, this is like the third week in a row we've been talking about it, so let's put this to bed, and then we can move on with our lives.
Nail in the coffin, so to speak.
Okay, so the second beta weekend just wrapped up. I mean, it's Sunday, it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday right now. So by the time this goes live, then it's going to be over. Yeah. I have put in a grand total of about 24 hours in total, like just between everything.
I'm a bit further
personally,
behind.
I think that's a lot.
Like 10, 12, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a lot, like considering the lack of free time that I have in my life. Yeah. So after playing it a bunch this weekend, I can confidently say that some of the cracks of the game are finally starting to show. Yeah. The honeymoon phase has worn off, and I could see where this game definitely needs some work. So I know we mentioned this before, but I think it warrants bringing up again. Number one, the destruction, I feel like, isn't necessarily as good as they advertised it being. Like, it's definitely good, it's cool, but it's not what they advertised it being. And I'm a bigger Battlefield fan than you are, so like I am trying to remain objective on this because I want to say this game is perfect, like so bad, but it's definitely not. There are definitely things that, like, I'll shoot a grenade launcher at or an RPG at a wall and like nothing happens, not even like a pebble comes out of the wall. So I feel like it is heavily scripted, but not completely. And I don't know if they're going to update this as the game goes on, but I would like to see them expand on the destruction a bit, because it just doesn't feel the way that it should, like not the way that the finals feels, and that is really the bar in gaming right now as far as destruction goes overall.
I was gonna say that's the bar right now, but like if I wanted to be more fair, I swear, and it's been a while, I could just be have some rose-tinted glasses on, but I think Bad Company's destruction was a little bit more like not intuitive, but like responsive. Like it felt more like accurate. Like I just simply remember walls coming down easier in Battlefield in a Bad Company.
So I agree with you to an extent. However, if I remember correctly, because I put in a ton of time in Bad Company 2. Like I always say, Bad Company 2 is my favorite Battlefield game. I will say that until the cows come home. So I am of the opinion that they put more of the smaller, really destructible buildings scattered around the map than the larger, like, apartment complexes that we see in Battlefield 6 right now. And those buildings were truly like you could level them to the ground, like to the foundation. There are not as many of those in Battlefield 6. There's way more complex structures in Battlefield 6, and you can't bring those structures down to the ground. Like and even in Bad Company 2, like the larger structures, like you could do damage, you could blow holes in walls and whatnot, but you weren't bringing the entire structure down.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not gonna get, like, it's an older game, it was impressive for its time. I do remember a lot of, like, almost like if every wall was like a square piece, like there was a lot of times where you'd blow a hole in that square piece, but like the foundation, the connection points between like the different squares in the wall, it would show. You would know, you would see behind the curtain, so to speak. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, this game of yesteryear is way better than the new one. I just think that the direction of the destruction was kind of like in a better place in Bad Company 2. That's like my metric, because if I compare it to the finals all day, like it's not going to be one-to-one fair, because what they're offering is different.
Yeah, and I think that Battlefield and DICE are trying to sell a more cinematic experience than like a true destruction sandbox, so to speak. So I think that is a factor to it, but the destruction definitely is not what I feel was advertised. At least not to the extent that they advertised it.
Exactly. The advertising is the big part for me, and you mentioned it last week too. It's like, it's almost like this would be acceptable. It would be noticeable, but acceptable. But they did like advertise the destruction a bit. They're doing that whole check your damage receipts at the end of the beta, that kind of shit. I'm just like, is there destruction? Is that your focus, or like what's going on here? Because that's not the feeling I'm getting,
Right. So okay, that's one thing. That's one of the cracks that really showed, in my opinion. The next biggest thing, and I noticed it more today in particular than any other time I played. The maps themselves were really only built with like 2 game modes in mind. It was Conquest and it was Breakthrough. Like Rush was obviously an afterthought, and it's a shame because Rush is my favorite game mode in Battlefield. That's what made me fall in love with.
It's the one I remember the most.
Yeah, yeah. So it made me fall in love with Bad Company 1 back in the day. The way that they put the MCOM stations in the map is like they're basically right on top of each other. So you could just go and plant the explosive on one and then go run across the street to the next one, plant it, and then now you have them both armed, and it's just a scramble to defuse. I am not a fan of the Brooklyn map, of the Empire State map, and this epiphany hit me like a sledgehammer today, because I was playing Breakthrough actually, and no, I lied. I was playing Rush, and I was playing with a buddy of mine that I used to play Destiny with, and we were just completely spawn locked. Like it was just not fun. It was not fun at all. It was really, really bad. We were totally spawn locked. We were having enemy players come into our spawn and just basically spawn camp us. So the maps were not built for some of these game modes, and it's really starting to show, especially on the God, what was it? The mountain range map, Liberation Peak, I think it's called. Yeah. That map is extremely one-sided. It is way easier to defend than it is to attack, especially like at the last breakthrough point where you have to go uphill and fight uphill. Like that is way harder to do on the attacking side than it is the defending side.
What I will say about that is, like, I think that balancing structure, I feel like we wouldn't necessarily feel it out unless we sat down and played the game like over the course of a month. I think that's just like a limited time scope, even though we both said that we put in a reasonable amount of time in this open beta period. I do think that the balancing stuff would kind of like even out after playing it for a while, because there have been some pretty aggressive, there have been moments where we've been defending on that map and we just get steamrolled, so it's not like exactly like that. But what I will say, and this goes to your other point that we were kind of focusing on as far as the map design, and like it's almost like each map only really works really well for 2 different game modes. I completely get what you're saying. I think the only map that is like the exception is the Cairo map. I think that one's pretty good for all the modes. I think that's pretty well balanced. But all the other ones,
I like Cairo. Cairo is easily the best map of the beta.
I would say so. And it's also the Cairo map also highlights, one of the strong points of the destruction, because a lot of the corners of the buildings are easily destructible mid firefight. But I get what you're saying about the maps, because the one thing I noticed is either you have a map like Brooklyn, which is like a big square, and it's like it's decent for conquest and like I would imagine team deathmatch, which we didn't really play too much of. We focused on the objective modes, obviously. Where you, on the other hand, you'll have maps like Liberation Peak, where like what was the best way to put this? Because everybody talks about lanes in the maps, right? I think that the lanes in general are much narrower and tighter, which leans into what you said, where a lot of the times the objectives are like right next to each other, like a stone's throw away. And it's just, I agree with what you're saying, essentially.
Right. So the general sentiment online that I've been seeing was basically just bring back all of the old classic maps. Like people like, it's nice to have new maps and everything, and you should have new maps with a new entry into the series, but the older maps from Battlefield 3 and 4 specifically, and a couple from the Bad Company 2, they were just so iconic to the franchise. Like, for example, Operation Metro. Like that is probably the most well-known map in Battlefield history, I think. And it would be so easy to play to the nostalgia factor and appease longtime fans, and also give newer players something to experience that they didn't before with those older maps, because 1, they were excellently designed. 2, they were designed around the objectives that I'm talking about right now. And 3, they just look really good and they play good in a Battlefield sandbox environment. So that's been a really big sentiment online, is people just want just a ton of, or if not all of the classic maps back. So that was a pretty big pain point for me. is that the map design clearly was very lopsided in its balancing. I think they have to figure that out before launch.
Absolutely.
Let's see what else. The whole weapon class system. Now I don't think DICE is very interested in having the locked weapon system in the game.
I mean, the second weekend they tucked it away in like custom search, didn't they?
Yeah. It's not. They're not going that route. But I don't think, like, just make a fucking decision and stick with it. Like, I don't even really mind the fact that you can use any gun across any class at this point, because the class identities are well fleshed out enough that, to me personally, I don't give a shit if you're going to use an assault rifle on the engineer class instead of an SMG. That doesn't matter that much to me anymore. Just as long as you're playing your role. Are you going to destroy and repair vehicles as an engineer? Great. Are you going to res friendly players as a medic? Great. Oh my god, there is no bigger pet peeve in this fucking game than when I am bleeding out in the gutter and 5 fucking medics just run right past me. It infuriates me. Oh my god. But the class identity is strong enough that I don't think the weapon selection is that much of an issue anymore. So that's a thing. But the last thing that I'll go over, but that's really sticking out to me, is one, overall polish. The game definitely needs to be polished up a bit more. It's functional now, which is fine, but they still have 2 months until launch. I think they need to polish it up as much as possible.
Hunker down.
And that one visual bug that I was getting, where all of my models would just glitch out, and everything was still functional, but I couldn't see anything, and I just had to play the rest of the match like that, and it was awful. So definitely polish it up, make it all nice and pretty. And the very last thing that I'll touch on is the UI. The UI is not good in my opinion. Like, it's that classic fucking Netflix and Hulu. You gotta stop with this. Enough.
It's listen, I ranted about it like however many weeks ago, where we was talking about UX. It's literally just that cluster of individuals that are now just in the industry, like trying to justify their existence. Like, I think with the what really kicked this off wasn't it Modern Warfare 2, where they literally hired Hulu UI designers to.
Wasn't Modern Warfare 2? It was
that or 3?
Was Modern
Warfare
they blend together for obvious reasons. I think it was 2.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2019 was not like that. They had traditional menus. It was 2 and 3. I forget which one had the literal Hulu UI designers in there, because the games blend together. But it's bled into everything. I don't know. Aside from that group of people that are just, like I said, trying to justify their fucking existence in this industry, I don't know what corporate stooge at the top is just going, this is the way. Guys, I got the next best thing. You know that Netflix shit? We're going to put that in our games. No, it sucks. Just stop.
Yeah, it does not translate. Stop doing that. So, okay, as far as feedback for the beta goes, I think that was the last thing that I had to say. I do have 2 more bits of Battlefield news that I want to touch on, and then we can move on. But do you have anything else to say about the beta for your thoughts?
I mean, as far as the final thoughts go, I mean, I think you said it at the beginning. I'll just reiterate it now. I the cracks are starting to show a little bit, and it pretty much cements what we said last week, where we basically said it's a good, solid game so far, but it's not necessarily the wow experience that everybody was kind of hoping for with Battlefield. I think it's got a lot of strong points.
I think it is for enough people.
Fun, but that's what I'm saying. It's there's a different we kind of always have this discussion where it's a lot of people are going to like it, and that's true, but in the grand scope of things and expectations in the industry and whatnot, I don't think they're going to really roll out a wow factor game when it comes out. I think we've seen the peak outside of just some additional content and the early support, where they're going to throw in those classic maps and everybody's going to have a great time with those because the foundation is solid. But I don't think it really... I think in the long run, it's not going to be exactly what it needs to be. And the other thing I'll say, because you brought it up, it needs polish. There's a lot of visual bugs. I maintain what I said when we were first talking about the alpha footage that leaked. Even in the rare occasion that I did get a visual bug, which happened to me once or twice, not as bad as what you got. Like there were times where it's like I wouldn't see my gun unless I was aiming down sight, or I would reload and the animation wouldn't play. The game functioned. Even if the visuals were not catching up with the game and showing me what I was doing, the game just functioned. It's like, so that's good. That's good in my book. As long as if the game functions, you just need to iron out the visual stuff. I'd say that's a pretty good spot to be in.
No, I completely agree. Like, I would rather have the game function than the visual bugs be there than the other way around, obviously. And it's so rare nowadays that like a giant AAA title gets pushed out the door that's fully functional. So I could deal with the bugs and glitches, like if it's just minor shit like that. But the fact that they have a functioning, working product on their hands, like that is probably the best praise that you can give it right now. So yeah, that's a thing. All right, let's move on from the beta feedback and thoughts, because
we've talked plenty about it.
Just move past Battlefield. Okay. So from multiplayer first, or MP first .com, the Battlefield 6 beta pushed EA stock to an all-time high, which I thought was interesting, especially after the free beta launches. So I shared a little screenshot in the chat, but it says that EA shares rose as much as 4.7%, the stock's biggest increase since July 30th, which pushed the price to $176.11 per share, bringing the video game publisher's market capitalization to $41.94 billion. So Battlefield 6 did a lot for EA just for a beta. And it just kind of goes to show, in my opinion, like, stop trying to reinvent the fucking wheel when it comes to these games. Like, these games have such a storied history with the fans and just the IP overall and the legacy from where it came from, that like, you trying to do this massive pivot or reinvent the wheel, like I just said, is just not going to work. And I think the all-time concurrent player peak for the open beta was like 521,000 people or something like that. And that's just on Steam. So expect like triple that number really between all the consoles. It's pretty clear what the audience wants, right? And if you just give them what they want, they will pay the money for it. Like, it's not difficult. But instead, no, EA and DICE had to make Battlefield 5 and then 2042 because they thought that was what the right way to go, or like what would sell the most copies.
I mean, when you look at it, there's hubris from the developers, and then there's also like the aspect of chasing trends with like the specialist stuff.
Yeah, so it boggles my mind, because like all you need to do is just make a good Battlefield experience, and I'm just using that right now as an example, but for anything for that matter, like it's I don't know, I'm just going to talk myself in circles, but they made the most amount of money that they did in a long time because they made a Battlefield game that people actually asked for and weren't trying to ram down people's throats. So take that for what you will. Okay, last thing, and I promise I'm done with Battlefield. This was from Tom Henderson, who and I'm sure you've heard that name, a notable.
He's a fairly accurate insider.
Yeah, right. So this comes from Insider Gaming, and apparently Battlefield as an IP is trying to become an annual franchise within 6 years of Battlefield 6 releasing. And I think that is the worst thing you could do right now. Like, don't say that, man. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Like, let the franchise fucking breathe, please. Like, you just came off of 2 disastrous games for your IP, and now you have a hit on your hand. I mean, it's essentially a hit. Like, I'm confident in making that claim right now. Just based off of all the numbers and the feedback that I've been seeing, it's going to be a hit on launch when it comes out in October. Yeah. But if you want to release a new Battlefield every year, like that is not what Battlefield is. Like, stop. I don't know. I saw this and I posted it in the news chat because I think that this is like very concerning. I do not like this.
I mean, we've had plenty of conversations where we've said like EA's gonna have a cost. What is it gonna be? In the past, it's been sales numbers. We were talking about players, and I think this other thing, like, players are still going to be a big part of it, but them gearing up in some way to get some of that Call of Duty action. we've still yet to see exactly what the monetization is going to look like, but it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to go into a yearly thing, like a Call of Duty. They want a part of that action, even if they're way too late for it, even if it's not good for the market, even if it's a fight that is like that nobody really wins in the long run. That's something that they're going to do. And
yeah,
the one like kind of ray of hope in this is that it's a long-term plan. But they want this to be done in like 5 years. So maybe they're not gonna. Hopefully that means they're not gonna trip over themselves doing it. Like I'm not keen on Battlefield turning into an annual franchise. Bad idea. I think what was the like span of releases like from 3, 4, Bad Company 1 and 2? Do you know what the year what that looked like?
It was at least 2 in between 3 and 4. After 4, it was it just 5? Was it just Battlefield 5? No, that doesn't sound right. There was something else after 4. We have to look this up.
Let me look this up real quick. All right, Battlefield 4. Let's see. All right. Okay, Battlefield 3 was 2011. Okay. Bad Company 1 was 2008. Battlefield 3 was 2011. Bad Company 2 was 2010, and Battlefield 4 was 2013.
Oh, Hardline.
Hardline was after those. Most people
Hardline was in between 4 and 1. Yeah, because it was meh.
I mean, my understanding about Hardline, not to go down a whole other path here, is that it was polished for what it was. It was just not a concept anyone was really interested in, which is weird to me. I think a whole cops and robbers kind of thing would be something that people.
It could have been cool. I think it lacked a lot of the stuff that made Battlefield, and they made that sacrifice because of the lore of the game. So, I mean, one was the last good Battlefield.
I agree. Here's what Battlefield could do. They're not going to do this, but here's what they could do if they wanted to kind of get in on that action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mainline Battlefield every 4 years, 3 at most, right? Because me and you have had this conversation before, where I honestly don't think AAA games need to wait like 5 to 6 years for a sequel. There was a period of time in the industry where you could do like a sequel every 1 to 2 years, right? I don't think. Okay. Battlefield or Call of Duty oriented shooter where they really just want you to burn yourself through the multiplayer and then move on to another multiplayer experience. That's not an experience that warrants an annual release, but they could do this. You do like Battlefield, like the mainline Battlefield, then in 2 years you do like a spin-off or something, like you do a World War II one, or you do a Cops and Robbers one, or you do something like a Bad Company, right? That's a different flavor of a Battlefield. And then 2 years after that, you do another main line, and so on and so forth. If you really wanted to do that, if you wanted to get the most out of the formula, that's what you do. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try to.
I would actually be okay with that, but I agree. Yeah, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, but that's how they could get away with it. Like they have, the precedent is set there, where they have done like spin-offs and experiments on the side before, so they can do that if they really wanted to, But
yeah, that's. Well, I mean, the IP started with World War II combat, and then from there they kind of went all over the place. Anyway, they did Vietnam. I think they did a version of the Cold War. They did Future with 2142, which they should definitely remake. That game was awesome.
Absolutely.
But I digress.
Yeah, I love that one. I think that's Joe's favorite still. Joe loves 2142.
Yeah, would not be surprised. So they've done past, they've done future, they've done modern, they've done near future with 2042. They've pretty much done every like time era you could do. So like you said, the precedent is already set. There's definitely options there. They just haven't done it to death like COD has.
Yeah. Call of Duty had that period where like between 1 and World at War, there was like a game every year, and sometimes they were doubling up with like the console versions, like Finest Hour and Big Red 1 and stuff like that we liked a lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, loved Big Red 1. Did I tell you that I went to an old school game shop like over the holidays this past Christmas, and I found Call of Duty Big Red 1 like on the shelf there? Like it was like $3 or $4, like the original PS2 copy, and I bought that shit.
I mean, it's a good buy, but no, you didn't tell me about that. That's neat.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's sitting on my shelf at home right now.
When we were kids, did you have that on PlayStation 2, or I thought you had it on the Xbox?
Yeah.
Was I wrong about that?
I had it on. I only got an Xbox. I had a PlayStation before an Xbox. I definitely had it on PlayStation.
Okay. I had Finest now on the GameCube
for the longest time. Yeah, for the longest time, Call of Duty Big Red 1 was my favorite, and then Call of Duty 4 dropped, and then it was all over after that.
I'm still a big fan of just vanilla 2. 2's a good one.
I totally agree. Okay. Enough Battlefield. That's 35 minutes, or really 30 minutes of Battlefield.
To be fair, it was like 25. We're fine. It's over. It's done. Yeah. The next 30 minutes, we're not gonna fucking talk about Battlefield.
Yeah. I only bring it up so much because I love the franchise and I want it to be what it can be. You know. So, anyway. All right, I'm gonna just bring up one small thing that I found that I thought was super interesting, and then you could take it from there. So this modder built a handheld gaming PC that's powered by a laptop RTX 4090 GPU and an Intel i9-14900 HX CPU. It has a 12.5-inch 4K display.
Monstrosity, right?
And there's 175 watts going to this mobile GPU, and it apparently works fine, and which is like fucking crazy to me. Like, good for this guy. This thing is a monster. It's more powerful than my laptop. That was not a joke. That was accurate. I think I have a 3070 on my laptop. Yeah, and that's what I game the most on right now, just because of the nature of my everyday life. So that's a thing, and it really goes to show like the state of technology overall. I'm not even going to say handhelds because yeah, it's a handheld, but we would never have gotten here if it wasn't for the fact that like the original Game Boy was a thing back in the very early 2000s, or was it the late 90s? I don't remember.
Late 90s.
Okay, so the original Game Boy back in the late 90s. And then, then we had things like the PSP and the PS Vita, which really took handheld gaming to a whole new level. And, we fast forward like basically 15 years or 20 years, whatever it's been. And then we got the Steam Deck. And so I just think it's very, very interesting because it's possible. And, I know that when I was a kid, I wanted something that was basically this forever. And it just wasn't available because the technology wasn't there. But now it's here. And it's only limited by the amount of money people are willing to pay for it. So I just think it's very, very cool. And I just wanted to bring it up because you don't see something like this every day where you can hear about a modder like building his own experience, but not like making his own fucking hardware. And the type of hardware that's in it too, it's crazy to me, and I love it, and I kind of want one, but there's no way.
I mean, if you had the time and the money, I'm sure you could throw something together. It's just it's custom. The capabilities for custom builds have really come so far. Just the nature of the technology, Moore's law, and all that kind of stuff, and it's like that you can make some amazing things if you really just want to sit down and put your time into it. I think something like that is awesome, even if it is not practical in the slightest, very cumbersome. It would be perfect setup for you, a little, pop out and put it on the go, that kind of thing. But it's that's definitely cool. Definitely cool. Not enough really.
The subtitle.
Go for it.
The subtitle of this article fucking really got me. So, modder builds gaming handheld powered by an RTX 4090 laptop GPU and, blah, blah, blah. The subtitle, thermal seemed pretty good too, considering the circa 175 watt of silicon throbbing inside this handheld. I was like, whoa, he really went for it there. just hysterical. I just thought that was funny. But yeah, it's a chunky boy.
Yeah, with all the focus on like PC handheld gaming, it's just I feel like cool custom builds. You don't hear enough stories about that anymore. Everybody's too focused on like the pre-builts. But no, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there. The only other thing that I really have to talk about as far as news go, I mean, this is really more of an opinion piece from Games Radar, but They apparently added wall running into Apex, and the article was just they'll just do anything but make Titanfall 3 at this point. Like,
yeah,
come on, man.
I mean, I've had conversations definitely with you, definitely with a couple of the friends who are very big into Titanfall, and it's like, you know, there's been at least 2 different Titanfall sequels that have been canceled. There was a Titanfall 3 in the works. There was Titanfall Legends, which was supposed to like tie together with Apex, and like, I get it. Me, you, a bunch of other people really want a Titanfall 3, but like the team's just not there, you know? It's like, I wouldn't trust it if you put it in front of me. They just don't have the talent.
You know, I have mixed feelings on this because as much as I would love to get a Titanfall 3, you are 110% correct. Like the team that built Titanfall 1 and 2, they're just not there anymore. And it would not be the same thing. It would have a different soul entirely. Now, on the other side of that same coin, would I take a remastered Titanfall 2 or even a ported Titanfall 2 that would actually work, that I could play multiplayer in today? Absolutely. So I hear what you're saying, and I begrudgingly agree. But I still want Titanfall, man. It still hurts. It still hurts.
It would definitely be nice to have a Titanfall out there, functional, good to go. It's just
anyway.
At this point.
I know. It's terrible. All right. Well, take it away. I know you got at least one thing to talk about. I yapped enough.
I'll see if I can kick off something small, and then I'll get into the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'll start with what's her name? The actress that's playing the main character in Heretic. The what is it called again? What's the new Naughty Dog game that got announced? No. The Naughty Dog game that got announced. What the fuck is it called?
Oh, Intergalactic.
Intergalactic. The
Heretic Prophet.
There we go. That's it. Yeah, and I think when that game got announced,
I remember that.
Yeah, it's Naughty Dog. There's a part of me that wants Naughty Dog to not suck.
Yeah, I saw like from the creators of Jack and Daxter flash across the screen, and my eyes just glazed over. I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, the main actress, I forget her name. She was in the press circuit recently. I think I mentioned when the game got announced that she was doing a whole thing where she was picking fights with the fans because like everybody's just like, "Oh, it's probably just going to be another third-person action experience from Naughty Dog. That's all they really know how to do anymore." And they immediately turned it into a feminist thing where it's just like, "Oh, you're being mean to the main actress." Like nobody cares. And she, when the game got announced, she was taking pot shots at people because it also came out around the same time, or it got announced around the same time Witcher 4 did. So she's like, "You gamers just hate women," and it's just like all this kind of shit. Just, no, we just don't trust the quality anymore. I don't even know who the fuck you are. And I think I said the next time I hear about this woman, it's when she's going to be doing like press circuits for the game or talking about the game after it releases about how bad and evil gamers are, right?
Yeah.
And she said something. She popped out of the woodwork this week to do one of those two things, and she's talking about like, "Oh, how do you feel about all the hatred you've been getting?" And she says something like, they can hate all they want. They're going to be playing the game and they're going to love it. And I'm just like, I'm not playing this fucking thing. I can't think of a single person who's interested in this, except maybe you, if you have time that week and it just wows you after a trailer, maybe. I mean, but like, I don't know who the fuck's interested in this.
It would have to really hook me. Yeah, it would have to really hook me in a certain way. I mean, for me personally, it generally all comes down to gameplay and combat anyway. So depending on how that is, then, you know, although I loved The Last of Us Part 1 and then 2 came out, which was played, you know, better than the first one did, but I didn't even touch it because of the volatile rhetoric around it. I was not interested whatsoever. So yeah, I do have my limits.
You didn't miss much. You didn't miss much as
no, I know. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not complaining about that.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, we've seen very little gameplay, and I don't think it's gonna be. It's gonna be another third-person action game, and not in an exciting way like you know, an Uncharted or anything. But yeah, that was interesting. She came out of the blue to say that.
Just God, you know, whatever, man. But anyway, continue. Let's hear the Anthony rant. I've been on edge all week.
So it's a very minor rant. So I had it in my mind. There's a game that I wouldn't say I was waiting for, but there was a game in the works that was announced a long time ago, and it's been coming out bit by bit, chapter by chapter. And this game, I said to myself, you know, I played the last game that this guy made, and I put that game off because the fan base sucked, and the fan base still sucks, and the game's not even complete. So I'm gonna wait until the game is fully complete and all the chapters are out. That's what I said, right? And then I saw some of the gameplay, and I saw the music and the experience. I'm like, you know what? Let's hop on board. There's 4 chapters of this game out. Let me just hop on, and then I'll wait like everybody else over the next 3 years or so for this game to finish, right? And I said, there's no fucking way I'm sure the fan base is still not tolerable, but there's no way it's gotten any worse. And then they immediately...
Spoiler alert, it got worse.
Yeah, they immediately proved me wrong. The game I'm talking about, Dan, is Deltarune. Have you ever heard anything about it? It's not in your wheelhouse. If you haven't heard about it, that's fine.
No, I have no idea what that is.
It is the quote-unquote parallel story to Undertale. And even if you definitely haven't played that, but we did talk about it once on the original podcast, where I basically... went over the same thing where I'm just like, I finally sat down and played the game. It was all right. The fan base sucks and made me put it off forever. Pretty much in the same fucking spot years later. Because, man, these people are just terrible. It's that subsection of community that was just built online and in those weird Tumblr and Reddit spaces. It just never went away. It's only mutated since then. And why I said this is basically like... over the last week, a little experimental app came out called W Place, right? And I explained this a little bit before, but I wouldn't have blamed you if you tuned me out because I was just rambling about it when we were playing Darktide. It's basically like a Google Maps, but like the map is divvied up into pixels, and you can draw whatever you want on there, right? And this thing was pretty cool for about 2 days, right? Okay. Basically, you had some cool... From what I saw, there were some cool moments where people banded together, different communities, did some really cool pieces of artwork and whatnot, and everybody was kind of just, living in the spirit of the thing, as you do on the internet before things go south. And wouldn't you know it, shortly after, the worst communities on the planet, the most insufferable, terrible people that just ruin fucking everything they touch, reared their ugly head. And because like these communities are intertwined, Deltarune, the Deltarune community, the Undertale community, kind of the tip of the spear. But there's obviously the other annoying terminally online shit, like some of the the louder Pokemon fans, the pride and LGBT shit, like everybody's shitting up everything. As a good example, here's a good example before I get to the most of it. Like it's safe to say at this point, we've mentioned multiple times, we are New York natives, right?
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. Big time. And which, by the way, which pained me to realize I hated the Brooklyn map. I was like, God damn it.
I'll be honest, when we were playing on the Brooklyn map, something's just like, I fucking hate the city. I hate going there, but even I can acknowledge, like, this isn't right. You didn't get it quite right, and I don't like that. It was it. I know. But anyway, as you know, Daniel, there is an island that is part of New York called Long Island. Daniel.
Ah, yes.
What is at the tip of Long Island? What is that the very end of the island?
Montauk?
Yes. Now, Montauk, fairly popular destination for vacations or just family trips. What is Montauk? What do you see on the bumper stickers you get from Montauk? Like what is the thing that you see that people associate with Montauk? What is it called? What is written there?
The end.
Yes, the end. Now, if a community that was familiar with New York or Long Island decided to use this W Place thing and go to Montauk, what do you anticipate would be written at the end of Long Island, Montauk?
Maybe the end?
Wouldn't you know it? That's not written there, but I'll tell you what is there. Some Deltarune characters and a fucking pride flag going right across one of the longest roads on the fucking island. That is God. Basically the community's ruined fucking... Like, that's just vandalism. Like, I guess, we have some older people on Long Island, and there's certain communities that just aren't going to get into the spirit of the things. I saw some cool stuff in our areas, right? I just peeked around. I actually saw some... I wasn't expecting this Monster Hunter stuff, pretty much. But I was looking around, and I was checking all these different things out, and it's just Deltarune, pride shit. There's all this stupid shit just vandalizing everything. I'm just like, okay, that's bad enough, right? You have to deal with these obnoxious people just plastering, like, wherever there's a free space, right? They're putting stuff up. Got worse than that really quickly. So, I mentioned at the beginning that I played that horse racing game, right? Very recently, obviously, as you get with these communities, you get, different artists jumping on board for trends and stuff. I saw some of the characters there too. very recently, one of the horses in real life actually died. So there was a very lovely mural in memorial kind of thing, right? Very large art piece, right? Very nice. Everybody was paying tribute. For some reason, the Deltarune guys just decided to kick things off by like just plastering their characters and all this weird shit all over the mural until the mural was just covered in this shit. Like, okay, that's pretty bad. So then it goes from there, from this mural, this memorial stuff, to just any art that they don't like. They just start covering in Deltarune characters. They're like, okay, that's obnoxious. Then now there's Deltarune, and not only is the Deltarune and the Pride shit just fucking ruining everything, but now they're just going over people's arts, right? Some guy had a memorial for his grandmother, just like his real grandmother, like, you know, rest in peace, grandma, I love you. They decided to go over that too. Just, it's these people, like, in over the course of like I said, it was good for like 2 days.
I can literally see you at your desk, like your arms flailing everywhere, like sometimes maybe going on your forehead, or so, just like completely fucking losing.
You gotta understand, like I have a bone to pick with a lot of these shitty communities. They ruin pretty much everything they touch, be it like the Deltarune fan stuff is like they're the most obnoxious on the planet. Pride, LGBT, that just ruins everything it touches, right? I went and I looked and I'm just like, okay, this is kind of cool. I wasn't expecting the Monster Hunter in my area. I wasn't expecting to see this, and then immediately I see like all these, like, you know, the different, like, you know, Deltarune characters in triplicate, like low quality, just going across the entire thing. And I'd be like, okay, that'd be, you know, whatever, draw your characters. But it's like, this happens every state, every other town. It's just these Deltarune characters, and there's pride flags all along the roads and shit like that. And it's just like... So basically, all this long-winded rant, I just wanted to get at it again. It's just communities fucking suck in general, but these, like, it was such a slap in the face to say, like, okay, Undertale came and went. You know, it's still in the minds of a lot of people, but it's like, whatever. This parallel game comes out. I decided to try it because it actually feels and looks more like a game. One of my issues with Undertale when I played it is it was less of a game, more of an experience. Gameplay was like secondary. Knowing the mechanics of the game and like following the story a certain way was primary. And I'm just like, that kind of bothered me. It took away a lot of it. Like, I wasn't head over heels for it at all, but like that ruined parts of it for me. Deltarune actually seemed more like a game. I was excited to play like an actual RPG with, you know, parties and like compositions and stuff like that. I was excited because, like, you know, the music can be good, and like the art style is charming, and the humor's kind of right up my alley in some cases. Like, it's like, this is nice. I want to try this. And immediately I get slapped in the face with the reminder that these fucking people have only gotten worse in the last 10 years. And now there's like the added, you know, modern day bullshit mixed in, where it's like you have, you know, minors and teenagers that are just too close to these weird groomy communities, and then their whole personality gets warped. It was just like an unpleasant splash of water in my face, and it was only compounded by this fucking W place thing where it's just like, you know, retcon characters and unnecessary political messaging and, you know, obnoxious characters just all over the place. And it's just like, I'm just like, communities are just fucking terrible, man. And they, you know, I feel like every other month I need to just remind that online fandoms just ruin fucking everything for everybody. And then you have people say like, oh, it's just, you enjoy the game, you know, it's the fandom. But then it's like, you can't do that because you go to do other things in your fucking life and you get slapped in the face by just like obnoxious, terrible people that have proven, if given the opportunity to destroy something of somebody else's, they will just do it because they had the opportunity to not fucking do that, and they did that immediately in this pixel experiment. So that was my unpleasant interaction with online communities. I cannot stress this enough.
Manifest themselves in the real world.
Yeah, and I cannot stress this enough because, you know, this is kind of put to the test, but it's also the worst people you know are still the worst people you know. They will ruin, if given the opportunity, they will ruin everything that you love, be it like the games and the media you like, the smaller communities that are around it, just your own personal projects on this free-to-use open source little, you know, experiment thing. It's all bullshit. They will ruin fucking everything that you love if given the opportunity. And I was just reminded of that. The only other thing I really have to say is that thing should have come with an expiration date, because at a certain point it was just bound to happen. Just because you can only, there's only so much space on the planet if you have hundreds of thousands of people drawing on it, But then I found out that it's monetized heavily. Like you get free pixels to use every like 30 minutes or so, but you can pay for more pixels. So now you have everything I mentioned, but now you have the terminally online factor where these people have nothing, absolutely nothing in their lives except for whatever's in front of them right now, which happens to be this little experiment and the games and the wayward identity shit that they want to represent. And it's just it's all bullshit. So it pushed me off of a game that I worked my way up to. I guess I'll just wait like another 3 years to play it, whatever, when it's finally done, and then I'll wait or whatever. And then, this smaller thing, I'll consider W Place a game. We ranted about it long. It's like, a game in itself, and they just ruined that too. It's all stupid. Communities suck.
Yeah, man. Terrible. I mean, and it does suck because they don't represent the majority of the player base or fan base or just the community. However, they are vocal enough that they are the only ones that are heard. So that is the unfortunate double-edged sword of that whole situation.
Yeah,
but that was really the only thing I was getting.
Yeah. I mean, they're vocal and they're also parasitic, which is why a lot of the times, even if they're not shouting up and reaching the developers, which is ultimately their goal in a lot of these cases, they also, they like if you go into a fandom, be it like a wiki or a Discord group or any kind of chat or any kind of social media, underneath the hood, you'll often find, these terminally online types, regardless of the flavor. It could be, just people who have way too much time on their hands, people who are like putting the fanatic part of fan into play, or if they are part of this weird, the stupid identity shit that is very popular, nowadays. It's just like these terrible people, and they'll ruin everything they can, be it the big shit, which is their goal obviously, or the small shit. It could be as simple as like a small group chat that you make personally around like a shared interest, and then like which is one of them moseys in there and just everything's about them and ends up fucking ruining it for everybody. There's big and small, these people. But it was definitely it definitely sucked. Definitely sucked. I would be perfectly fine with these people doing things their way if they just wanted to sit and enjoy it and have their own interpretation like everybody else. That would be perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, they will always come into play if you try to engage with media outside of just the product or the art itself. It's just and like you mentioned, in some cases, eventually it worms its way up and they influence things like this. The wave of censorship, which we didn't really touch on. We'll have more to say about that next week. That's been going on. It was started like this latest wave was kicked off by a bunch of a small-ish group, like no more than 1,000 strong of membership in all the way in Australia. Were just vocal enough to find the right people higher up the chain that agreed with their beliefs enough to start handicapping storefronts like Steam and itch.io and all these different places, so it's just awful people at all these different levels will always try to ruin things even remotely related to what you enjoy, because they have nothing else going for them. They are just balls of hatred and confusion and misery, and they just want to spread that, whether they even know it or not. Some of them just think they're doing the right thing for them and others, but they're not. It's all dog shit. Fandom culture sucks. I think it should just go away in general, but at the very least it needs a kick in the pants, because nowadays you can't even do extracurricular shit. You can't even go to like a wiki or an online Discord without seeing some power-hungry, disgusting person just spreading their shit everywhere. It's all dog shit. So I guess my rant at the end of the day was about communities again. Just because they suck.
They do fucking suck. Yeah, most of them do. Yep. Especially when it comes to trying to get shit done.
Yep.
Well, I kind of got nothing else. My week has been consumed with Battlefield and Darktide, so I had my head in the proverbial sand.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, not until October.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, the big part of it, the talking part of it's pretty much behind us. I think that beta period, like, I think when it does come out, regardless of what shape or form, I think we're not gonna have much to say outside of, we were right at this point in time when we talked about it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
probably. I'm trying to think of, like, Battlefield is going to be a big release for me. I'm also have my eye on Borderlands 4, but beyond that, I don't know what other game is like coming out that I'm like super hyped about. I am very low levels of hype for Battlefield 6. I will admit. After playing it for as long as I have, like, it's still a good enough Battlefield experience where I'm excited to jump in again. But it's not like, oh my god, I have to have it like yesterday.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if any game right now is really scratching that itch for me at the moment.
Yeah. I can't really think of anything
kind of sad.
Either. Yeah, I mean, but it's not like you were without, like, you got stuff up to this point. Not everything's gonna be exciting. Like, I had my exciting heights for a little bit too. My games came out. I really enjoyed games like Nitro Express. I enjoyed the Xbox release of Zenless Zone Zero. I enjoyed, things came out. Expedition 33 fucking blew me away. The Oblivion remaster, for my gripes with it, as much as I think it's a bad remaster for the smaller shit, came and went, and it was a good time. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and in these lulls, and I know I actually have a few games I want to go back and replay from the past. It's when there's nothing necessarily exciting in the future, dig to the past, because I can guarantee you, most people out there, even the ones that have all the time in the world to play it more than me and you do, there's always going to be something that you can go back and play. I think I might play Medieval and feeling that game. You ever played that?
I mean, I usually go through my Steam library. No, I haven't. I know what it is. I haven't played it.
It's
I usually go through my Steam library and see what I missed out on, because I have way more games that I've ever played here. But I did start a new Cyberpunk playthrough, so I'll probably go through that, finish that up before I do anything. But anywho, that's really about it. You got anything else, or are we gonna wrap this bitch up?
No, all my other stuff is like, stuff that can wait until next week for, we have time to talk about it and things develop and shit like that.
Okay.
No need to pile on if we don't have it.
Well, I guess on that note, this was episode 68 of the Pregame Network podcast. If anyone's still sticking around and listening, then thank you. We appreciate it. And we will be back next week for more game talk and laughs and good times and all that shit. So until next time, thank you for listening, and we'll be back. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.